MI6 agent Eve Pilastri and psychopathic assassin Villanelle spent 4 seasons locked in a deadly cat-and-mouse game that evolved into one of TV's most complex relationships. What started as a professional pursuit became a twisted obsession that consumed both women and left a trail of bodies across Europe. From London intelligence offices to Parisian apartments, I'm breaking down every murder, betrayal, and lingering glance of BBC America's award-winning thriller Killing Eve. Season 1. Meet Eve Pilastri, bored, underutilized, and stuck in a security role at MI5. She's married to kind-hearted English teacher Nico, lives in London, and feels her career is going nowhere. Everything changes when she starts investigating a series of seemingly unconnected murders across Europe. Eve has a theory: the assassin is a woman. Her boss, Frank Hailton, scoffs at the idea, but Eve won't let it go. When a witness to one of the murders is killed inside a hospital, Eve and her colleague Bill take matters into their own hands. Their unauthorized actions get them both fired, but not for long. Carolyn Martins, the head of MI6's Russia desk, secretly recruits Eve to lead an off-the-books team hunting for this female assassin. Eve brings on Bill, her assistant Elena, and Carolyn's hacker son Kenny to join the investigation. Now, let's meet Villanelle. Her real name is Oksana Ostankova, a Russian orphan turned psychopathic killer. She lives in Paris in a gorgeous apartment, enjoys expensive clothes, and absolutely loves her job, murdering people in creative ways for a mysterious organization called the 12. Her handler, Konstantin, delivers her assignments and serves as a father figure, though their relationship is far from healthy. When Eve and Villanelle become aware of each other, something strange happens. Rather than a standard agent-assassin dynamic, they develop a mutual fascination. Villanelle starts tracking Eve, even breaking into her home while she's away and rummaging through her clothes. Eve becomes equally obsessed, creating elaborate boards tracking Villanelle's movements and studying her kills. Their first indirect interaction turns deadly when Villanelle lures Bill to a nightclub in Berlin and stabs him to death on the dance floor. This personal attack devastates Eve, but only intensifies her determination to catch Villanelle. The chase takes Eve to Russia, where she and Carolyn meet Konstantin's ex-wife and daughter. They also visit a women's prison to interview Nadia, a former lover of Villanelle who might have valuable information. But Villanelle is one step ahead. She gets herself arrested and sent to the same prison, where she brutally kills Nadia before she can talk. Eve discovers that her own boss, Frank, has been working as a mole for the 12. With Frank on the run, both MI6 and Villanelle race to find him. Villanelle gets there first and executes him, but not before Frank reveals crucial information about the 12, a shadowy organization using assassination to manipulate global politics. The season culminates when Eve tracks Villanelle to her Parisian apartment. Finally, face to face, the two have an intense conversation, revealing their mutual obsession. The encounter seems almost tender, until Eve suddenly stabs Villanelle in the stomach. As Eve panics over what she's done, Villanelle escapes, wounded but very much alive. Season 2. Season 2 picks up just 30 seconds after the stabbing. Eve flees Paris in shock while Villanelle, bleeding profusely, manages to get herself to a hospital. After recovering, Villanelle is desperate to reunite with Eve, convinced they share a special connection. Eve returns to MI6, where Carolyn assigns her to a new case. A businessman named Alistair Peel has been murdered, seemingly by a new assassin dubbed the Ghost. Unlike Villanelle's showy kills, the Ghost's work is subtle and nearly undetectable. Meanwhile, Villanelle gets a new handler, who she despises. When she learns about the Ghost, she grows insanely jealous that Eve is hunting another assassin. To get Eve's attention, Villanelle begins a killing spree, leaving elaborate gifts for Eve at each crime scene. Eve's marriage to Nico starts crumbling under the pressure of her work and her growing fascination with Villanelle. Her new team at MI6 includes Kenny, Elena's replacement Hugo, and new agent Jess. Kenny grows concerned about Eve's obsession with Villanelle and Carolyn's mysterious motives. In a shocking twist, Konstantin reappears. He faked his death in Season 1 and now works as a freelancer. He reunites with Villanelle and proposes they work together independently of the 12. As Eve's team captures the Ghost, they discover she was hired by tech mogul Aaron Peel, Alistair's son. The Ghost reveals that Aaron has developed a weapon that can access anyone's personal data, which he plans to sell to the highest bidder. Eve needs help getting the Ghost to talk, so she reaches out to the best interrogator she knows, Villanelle. This brings our two leads together again in a tense alliance. MI6 recruits Villanelle to go undercover as Billy, a troubled New York socialite who gets close to Aaron Peel. The mission takes them all to Rome, where Aaron plans to auction his weapon. In Rome, Eve and Villanelle's relationship intensifies. Villanelle discovers that Aaron has a history of filming himself killing women, and she's his next target. The mission falls apart when Villanelle kills Aaron instead of following orders. Eve discovers that Carolyn had manipulated them both. She wanted Aaron dead all along. As Eve and Villanelle try to escape together, they're confronted by Raymond. Villanelle manipulates Eve into killing him with an axe, despite having a gun herself. After Eve's first kill, Villanelle suggests they run away together. When Eve realizes Villanelle had a gun all along and wanted to see her kill someone, she rejects Villanelle's proposal, feeling betrayed. Villanelle shoots Eve and leaves her for dead. Season 3. 6 months later, Eve is alive but broken. She's working in a restaurant kitchen, living in a small apartment, and trying to forget her past. Villanelle, meanwhile, has gotten married to a Spanish woman but is clearly unhappy. At her wedding, she's approached by Dasha, her former trainer, who recruits her back to the 12 with the promise of a promotion. The season takes a dark turn when Kenny, who left AMY6 to become a journalist, falls to his death from his office building. Eve, Carolyn, and Kenny's journalist colleagues at Bitter Pill believe he was murdered while investigating the 12. Carolyn faces her own challenges. She's been demoted at MY6 and is now supervised by Paul Bradwell. Her estranged daughter, Geraldine, has moved in following Kenny's death, creating tension at home. Despite her personal grief, Carolyn secretly continues investigating Kenny's death. Villanelle begins mentoring a new assassin for the 12, while pursuing her goal of becoming a keeper, a senior role in the organization. As part of her journey, she travels to Russia to reunite with her family, only to find her mother unchained, manipulative, and cruel. This visit ends tragically when Villanelle burns down the family home with her mother inside. Eve tracks Villanelle's movements while investigating Kenny's death, leading to several near misses between them. When they finally meet on a bus, their encounter turns violent before ending in an unexpected kiss. Nico becomes collateral damage when Dasha attacks him with a pitchfork and frames Villanelle. Though he survives, he wants nothing more to do with Eve. Dasha's plan to drive Eve and Villanelle apart backfires as both women figure out her deception and separately confront her, leaving her gravely injured. The season climaxes when Constantine, Eve, Villanelle, and Carolyn converge at Paul's house. We learn that Paul is working for the 12 and that Constantine was present when Kenny died. According to Constantine, Kenny's death was an accident. He'd backed away in fear and fallen off the roof. Carolyn, grief-stricken and furious, executes Paul instead of Constantine, who escapes during the chaos. Eve and Villanelle, left alone on London's Tower Bridge, finally confront their feeling. They acknowledge they bring out the worst in each other and agree to walk away in opposite directions. But as they walk, both turn back simultaneously, exchanging knowing smiles. They can't stay away from each other. Season 4. The final season begins with Eve hunting down members of the 12, fueled by revenge. Villanelle is trying to change, attending church and seeking redemption, but her darker impulses remain. Carolyn has fled to Havana, ostensibly in exile, but actually hunting the 12's origin story. Constantine is now training a new assassin named Pam, while managing local government in Russia. When Villanelle's attempts at redemption fail, she creates an alter ego, Jesus, who encourages her violent tendencies. After Villanelle kills a man at her church, Eve rejects her pleas for help. Eve begins working with a new partner, Yusuf, and tracking Hélène, a high-ranking member of the 12. When Villanelle kidnaps Hélène's daughter to get her attention, Hélène retaliates by sending assassin Gunn after Villanelle. Meanwhile, Carolyn discovers that her father might have been involved in forming the 12. The most shocking moment comes when Hélène orders the assassination of Constantine's daughter, trying to force him to reveal Villanelle's location. This sets off a chain reaction. Villanelle kills Hélène, and Pam accidentally kills Constantine while following outdated orders. In his final moments, Constantine gives Pam a letter for Eve revealing the location where the 12 are meeting. Eve and Villanelle, reunited once more, head to a boat where the 12's leaders are gathering. Villanelle massacres them all while Eve creates a diversion with a wedding speech. Just when it seems like they might finally be free, tragedy strikes. As Eve and Villanelle embrace on the deck, Carolyn, who has returned to MY6, orders a sniper to shoot them. Villanelle is hit multiple times and pushes Eve into the water to save her. Villanelle dies in the Thames while Eve survives, screaming in anguish as she surfaces. This controversial ending sparked intense fan backlash, with many feeling it fell into the bury your gays trope and betrayed the core relationship at the heart of the show. What I loved the most about Killing Eve was the electric chemistry between Eve and Villanelle. Their relationship defied easy categorization. It wasn't quite romance, not just professional rivalry, but something far more complex. Throughout the series, Eve gradually sheds her normal life and embraces her darker impulses. She loses her husband, her job, her moral certainty, all in pursuit of Villanelle. Meanwhile, Villanelle seeks to understand human connection, Occasionally showing glimpses of empathy despite her psychopathic nature, the show excelled at blending genres: spy thriller, dark comedy, psychological drama, and twisted romance. Its female-led cast and creative team brought fresh perspectives to a genre typically dominated by men. Killing Eve raised fascinating questions about obsession, transformation, and whether people can truly change. Eve and Villanelle were drawn together precisely because each saw something in the other they couldn't find elsewhere. For Eve, freedom from societal constraints. For Villanelle, genuine human connection. Despite its controversial ending, the series remains a landmark in television for its complex female characters, stylish execution, and willingness to blur moral boundaries. Sandra Oh and Jodie Comer delivered performances that will be remembered for years to come, showing us that sometimes the line between hunter and prey, love and hate, is thinner than we might think. What pulled you into Eve and Villanelle's deadly dance? Was it their electric chemistry, the cat and mouse game, or something else entirely?